no normal, sane person would ever do something like that, so sadistic, so heinous. Hey guys, brother in Christ Josh here. Yeah, I know it's been a long while since I made a video, but something recently happened that just caught the news, and I kind of wanted to just share my thoughts, especially since this is something that really hits close to home. So, for those who are in Toronto, Canada, the Toronto area in Ontario, Canada, specifically in Pickering, there's this incident that happened this afternoon where a 13-year-old boy just randomly approached an elderly woman right in her backyard, unprovoked, and just stabbed her and unalived her. Like, this was totally unprovoked, and nothing happened at all. They didn't know each other at all, and the police were on it, obviously. And to be honest, when I heard about it, it was quite scary and concerning, especially since this was a unprovoked attack where neither victim or suspect knew each other. It happened literally right in her own backyard while she was gardening, just minding her own business. And the kid just came up to her and just stabbed her to death. And I know at the time of this recording, it's the same night that happened, but it's still early on in the investigation, so police are still gathering evidence and all that type of stuff. So I'll leave links to the story so you can follow it in my YouTube description. So check that out, please. So according to the news reports, this incident was so serious that it really prompted the entire city of Pickering to shut down all public facilities at the time, and also pretty much prompted them to put out a safety alert that everyone got on their phones around 5:30, 5:44 p.m. So if you're in Ontario, you probably got the message. But yeah, it's basically alerting the people of that, hey, there's an incident of a assault or a stabbing in Pickering, and the suspect is still at large. And I heard the guy on the news talk about that. The reason why they usually don't do this, but the reason why they had to, because it was a random stabbing where random attack where neither the victim nor the suspect knew each other, and it was completely unprovoked. And in that case, that was really concerning in the public. So something I wanted to touch on is that I know I said earlier that it's early on in the investigation, and they're still putting everything together, but just from a logical perspective, like, no sane person in their right mind is going to just go and attack someone unprovoked, especially a vulnerable elderly woman. So I think what most people and the detectives and a lot of people are assuming is there has to be some sort of mental health crisis. Like, something had to be going on in this kid's brain up here. Like, something wasn't right. Maybe it was something happening in his life or something else he was going through. Regardless, that doesn't excuse what he did, but that being said, no normal, sane person would ever do something like that, so sadistic, so heinous, especially attacking a elderly woman unprovoked while she was just doing her thing. Next point I want to touch on is the Youth Criminal Justice Act in Canada, and I just want to do a short rant about how what's wrong with our Canadian justice system in general. So, like I mentioned earlier, the suspect is a 13-year-old boy, and under the Youth Criminal Justice Act, any offender under 18 who has committed a crime cannot be identified, and anyone connected to that crime that is older than 18, they might also be protected from identification in order to protect the identity of the young offender. So in this case, the youth that stabbed the elderly woman cannot be identified, so the public doesn't know who he is. To be honest, in this situation, I don't care what the law says. I don't care what the courts say. We need to appeal to common sense and conscience. Fact of the matter is, this minor committed one of the, obviously the most heinous act, murdering somebody, let alone unprovoked, and targeting an innocent elderly lady right in her own backyard while she was gardening and doing her thing, minding her own business. But something as serious as this, something is serious enough to affect the safety of the community and prompt the police to urge everyone in that Pickering area to stay inside of their homes and shut down all public facilities. This is very, very serious. So I hope in this case, the courts can maybe make an exception to publicly identify this youth that was involved in this heinous act and try him as an adult. I also kind of want to just touch on how it might indirectly or not directly relate to this, but Canada's justice system and bail system, it definitely needs some big reform, especially with all the increase in crime in the last few years. And under a certain prime minister, I think most of you should know who I'm talking about, especially with this bail system and all these judges. I know the other day, about a week or two ago, our Premier Doug Ford was ranting about how all these judges are letting all these criminals go free and just giving them a slap on the wrist instead of throwing them in jail for a long time and putting them away, putting them out of society for however long they deserve. This man, Doug Ford, the Premier, said he'd even pay these judges to leave, which I totally agree with. And I really respect this guy's charisma, but it's a video for another topic. But yeah, I think our criminal justice system needs serious reform, especially with all the crimes that have been going on, especially increase in the crimes being committed by young people, the youth. Because especially with a lot of organized crime, I would assume that they would recruit the young people and people under 18 to do these things, because they know they get a slap on the wrist and they'd be out on bail, back out in society to do it again. And even these young people know it, so they don't fear the law. There's not enough teeth in the law to make them fear, because they don't fear going away for a long time in jail. And it's our justice system that's to blame, and that needs reform. And with this story, it brings me up to another topic that I really want to touch on that's serious and that relates to it, and that's mental health, particularly with men, especially since this happened on May 30th. And it's also the time I'm recording this. Tomorrow is June 1st, which is the start of Men's Mental Health Month. That runs throughout June, which really promotes the importance of men's mental health and encourages men to reach out. And on that, I just want to encourage you, whether you're a man or woman, young or old, I think especially with young men, talk to someone. Don't keep it buried inside. Don't listen to the Andrew Tate red pill type masculinity you see on the internet that just tells you to just be stoic and just not feel your emotions. Because that can be dangerous to yourself and others. Keeping it all bottled up inside until it blows up, that can be very dangerous and even fatal to yourself or others. So I encourage you, man or woman, young or old, if you need help, then please seek help. Talk to somebody. But I just want to say that if you are going through something, or if you are going through a mental health crisis or any sort of addiction, I just want to say, like, indulging in vices like alcohol, pornography, drugs, stuff like that, that's not going to help. And I don't care, under no circumstances that are you to ever take it out on somebody else, whether verbally, physically, emotionally, or whatever else. I don't care. Two wrongs don't make it right, and just because you're hurting or something was done to you doesn't give you the right to pour that pain onto others. I know there are a lot of people, men and women, who may be suffering in silence, but I know that women definitely tend to reach out and talk more, and they get to support their need, when on the other hand, men are taught to just keep it inside and just suck it up and bottle up their emotions inside. That being said, I compiled a few mental health tips from ChatGPT to help you if you or someone you know may be struggling, man or woman. Now, just a disclaimer: I'm not a mental health therapist or any sort of licensed professional, so don't take this as medical advice. And like I said again, if you need help, I encourage you to please seek help, or at the very least, if you're not able to, then talk to someone you know about it. Tip number one is don't keep it inside. Talk to someone, whether that's a friend, a family member, pastor, or somebody else you trust. I think you really need to be able to find someone you can vent to and talk about how you feel. And if you don't have any of those people, if you don't have anyone you can trust that you know, I'd encourage you to reach out to some online communities like on Reddit or Discord or other places where there are people who will be willing to listen and support you and trying to help you out and make you feel seen and heard. Number two is establish a routine. And by that, I mean taking actionable goals to just keep busy, or like accomplish things, even just something small, just making your bed in the morning or going for a walk. Just keeping occupied can really help you just get out of your own head and help you stop overthinking. Tip number 3, and this is a big one, exercise. I think a lot of you know this, but exercise and working out, just any sort of physical activity, always had positive effects on one's mental health. And it's a proven way to fight depression, anxiety, stress, and a bunch of other mental health issues. Even if you don't go to the gym, any exercise like just walking, push-ups, pull-ups, running, or whatever else you can do to stay physically active, I really encourage you to do or start doing. Tip number 4 would be to stay away from vices. Things like pornography, alcohol, drugs, marijuana, all that type of stuff. All those things will always do more harm than good. And I know like a lot of people would use them as an escape, but trust me, all those things only lead to negative consequences later down the line. And using other things to escape, like video games or binge watching, not saying anything's wrong with those things in particular, but like just be careful that you don't like overdo it and just like get completely like lose yourself in a sense. I myself, like whenever I get down or stressed, I often turn to playing video games like Pokemon or something like that to just like help me like escape a little bit, and that helps me feel better in moderation, obviously. Like don't neglect your responsibilities and don't like overdo it. Tip number 5, and this may be a weird one, but serving others. I know a friend of mine, like one time when I was down, she really encouraged me to really just start volunteering or like getting involved in serving others. I kind of didn't understand why, but within the past like 2 years, I've started like volunteering, doing videography and photography, as well as help do some volunteer landscaping and painting and stuff like that with the company I work with. And that honestly, whenever on those days I did do it, I always just felt a sense of like joy and fulfillment and purpose. Even though I'm not getting paid, I just feel like I'm still making an impact and making a positive difference. Even something as small as just like checking in on a friend via call or text, or just asking how someone's day was, and genuinely asking, not just this generic, hey, how are you, but actually care about what they have to say and be prepared to listen intently. The Bible says in Proverbs 11:25 that a generous person will prosper, and whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Jesus also said in Acts chapter 20, verse 35, that it's more blessed to give than receive. Tip number 6 is, I'd say, address shame and guilt. Like, I know you may have done some things in the past you're not proud of, and we're not here to judge you for it or anything like that. But honestly, just keeping it inside, like that can really take a toll on you. So I encourage you just like confess it to someone you know and trust, and definitely, and if you believe in God, then confess it to God as well. Tip number 7 would be to seek out professional help. And I know, especially for guys, this can be a bit of a challenge since men are conditioned to just be strong and like not care about their emotions. But even so, I encourage you to seek out therapy or a mental health counselor or something along those lines. Remember, it's definitely not weak, especially as a man, to seek out help for mental health, especially when you have people depending on you like a wife or kids. And number 8, I'm not trying to get all too religious or anything, but seek God. Jesus has the power to heal what no one else or nothing else can. Jesus can fill the void inside. Jesus knows what you're going through, and he can heal whatever it is. There are countless testimonies all over the internet on how Jesus set countless people free from things like addiction, sin, depression, anxiety, and a whole bunch of other things. So there really is hope. He really has transformed countless lives throughout the centuries, and even today he's still doing it. So yeah, I just want to leave you with that. So to conclude, the incident with the 13-year-old boy here in Pickering, Ontario, Canada, in the Toronto region, stabbing and killing a innocent elderly woman in her own backyard, unprovoked. They didn't know each other at all. It's really heartbreaking and concerning to see. think this would bring up a good conversation and a much needed conversation about things like mental health, especially in men and in youth, and young men in particular, as well as issues in Canada's justice system and how it really needs reform. And just mental health in general, I feel like this is something that's not talked about enough, especially for men. And I think like if we deal with the root issues, what's going on here, then people will commit less crimes. But obviously, we definitely need, like, I'm not just saying like get rid of consequences or lower the consequences or stuff like that. Like, criminals need to be put away regardless of age. I don't think there should be protections just because you're under 18, or I don't think you should be treated any differently under the eyes of the law just because you're a minor. But yeah, those were just my thoughts, and I just wanted to bring up the conversation about mental health and Canada's justice system. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. God bless you all.